So then after she asked herself, who in the world am I, and that's a great puzzle, she began thinking over all the children she knew that were the same age as herself, to see if she could have been changed for any of them, like changed into any of them. I'm sure I'm not Ada, she said, for her hair goes in such long ringlets. And mine doesn't go in ringlets at all. And I'm sure I can't be Mabel, for I know all sorts of things, and she knows such very little. Besides, she's she, and oh dear, how puzzling it all is. I'll try if I know the things I used to know. Let me see. 4 times 5 is 12, and 4 times 6 is 13, and 4 times 7 is, oh dear, I shall never get to 20 at that rate. However, the multiplication table doesn't signify. Let's try geography. London is the capital of Paris. Paris is the capital of Rome, and Rome, no, that's all wrong, I'm certain. I must have been changed for Mabel. I'll try and say, how doth the little... And she crossed her hands on her lap as if she were saying lessons, and began to repeat it. But her voice sounded hoarse and strange, and the words did not come out as they used to. How doth the little crocodile improve his shining tail, and pour the waters of the Nile on every golden scale? How cheerfully he seems to grin, how neatly spread his claws, and welcome little fishes in with gently smiling jaws. I'm sure those are not the right words, said poor Alice, and her eyes filled with tears again as she went on. I must be Mabel after all, and I shall have to go and live in that poky little house, and have next to no toys to play with, and oh, ever so many lessons to learn. No, I made up my mind about it. If I'm Mabel, I'll stay down here. It'll be no use putting their heads down and saying, come up again, dear. I shall only look up and say, who am I then? Tell me first. And then, if I like being that person, I'll come up. If not, I'll stay down here until I'm somebody else. But, oh dear, cried Alice, with a sudden burst of tears, I do wish they would put their heads down. I am so very tired of being alone down here. As she said this, she looked down at her hands and was surprised to see that she can put on one of the rabbit's little white kid gloves, while she was talking. How can I have done this, she thought. I must be growing small again. She got up, went to the table to measure herself by it, and found that, as near as she could guess, she was now about 2 feet high, and was shrinking rapidly. She soon found out that the cause of this was the fan she was holding, and she dropped it hastily just in time to avoid shrinking away altogether. That was a narrow escape. So Alice has got all these objects that make her shrink and grow. That would be kind of fun to write down and take a look at, to see what is happening in this magical world. We know the fan made her shrink, we know the potion made her shrink, the cake made her grow, and there would be others, and then you could actually imagine your own things that might shrink or grow her, and then write your own story based on that. That would be kind of fun. That was a narrow escape, said Alice, a good deal frightened at the sudden change, but very glad to find herself still in existence. And now for the garden. She ran with all speed back to the little door, but alas, the little door was shut again, and the little golden key was lying on the glass table as before. And things are worse than ever, she thought, the poor child. For I never was so small as this before, never, and I declare it's too bad that it is. As she said these words, her foot slipped, and in another moment, splash, she was up to her chin in salt water. First idea was that she had somehow fallen into the sea, and in that case I can go back by the railway, she said to herself. Alice had been to the seaside once in her life, and had come to the general conclusion that wherever you go on the English coast, you find a number of bathing machines in the sea. Some children digging with sand and wooden spades, then a row of lodging houses, and behind them a railway station. However, she soon made out that she was in the pool of tears which she had wept when she was 9 feet high. Wish I hadn't cried so much, said Alice, as she swam about, trying to find her way out. I shall be punished for it now, I suppose, by being drowned in my own tears. That will be a queer thing, to be sure. However, everything is queer today. Just then she heard something splashing about in the pool a little way off, and she swam nearer to make out what it was. At first she thought it must be a walrus or hippopotamus, but then she remembered how small she was now, and soon she made out it was only a mouse that had slipped in like herself. Would it be of any use now, thought Alice, to speak to this mouse? Everything is so out of the way down here, and I should think very likely it can talk, at any rate. No harm in trying, so she began, "Oh, mouse, do you know the way out of this pool? I am very tired of swimming about here, oh, mouse." Alice thought this must be the right way of speaking to a mouse. She had never done such a thing before, but she remembered having seen in her brother's Latin grammar, a mouse of a mouse, to a mouse, oh mouse. The mouse looked at her rather inquisitively, and seemed to her to wink with one of its eyes, but it said nothing. Perhaps it doesn't understand English, thought Alice. I dare say it's a French mouse, come over with William the Conqueror. For all her knowledge of history, Alice had no very clear notion how long ago anything had happened, so she began, I do not speak French, so oui est machate, which was the first sentence in her French lesson book. The mouse gave a sudden leap out of the water, and seemed to quiver with all of her fright. Oh, I beg your pardon, cried Alice hastily, afraid that she had hurt the poor animal's feelings. I forgot you didn't like cats. Not like cats, cried the mouse, with a shrill, passionate voice. Would you like cats if you were me? Perhaps not, said Alice in a soothing tone. Don't be angry about it. And yet, I wish I could show you our cat Dinah. I think you'd take a fancy to cats if only you could see her. She is such a queer thing, Alice went on, half to herself as she swam about lazily in the pool.